Welcome, fellow spiritual travellers. My journey today took me to a coffee shop, and all of a sudden, 300 or 400 people emerged outside the coffee shop because obviously it's Remembrance Day. So, to all those people that gave our lives for our country and gave our lives so that we can have better places, I'd like to thank them all. But it was a strange day today because normally these sort of places I keep away from, like hospitals and stuff like that, unless I'm truly in the moment or connected or cleansed or whatever. But today was a strange day. Sometimes you just realise that your medium's work is ongoing and always. So today I was sitting there and my stomach started to go and felt pain in my stomach, and then all these different sort of feelings came about. And obviously that was spirit world wanting to get involved. And so once I opened up and just sort of said, God bless you all, and hope you find peace at this time. All of a sudden, a queue a mile long was standing right next to me, all wanting to help to be sent over. I normally only deal with the ones that are stuck. So what I mean by that is they're reliving their last moments, and so that's the harder for them to move on. Now, some people say, well, once you move on, that's it. Well, maybe, but some have got an emotional attachment. Some want releasing or helping to let go, or they're looking for somebody, so it's always quite a weird one, really, because I never really talk about some people call it rescue work. They always have different names. Basically, what I'm doing is just helping people to release their emotions on the spirit world. It was never sort of an area that I thought I could help people with. But when I did paranormal and basically started working with the angels, I was guided to places and people. And so I have done so many sort of like varied, I don't know what to call them, cleanses or basically helping those lost souls that are still stuck and have an emotional attachment or struggling to move on. So because there were so many, I mean, at least 400, I was told by Spirit World. What I do is I call my friends. There's a lot of good friends that have moved on and they know what to do. Basically, you have to help the spirit release the emotional attachment or the emotional thing that's keeping them stuck in this sort of like, I don't know whether it's called a realm or anything, because I don't think it's different vibrations that cause them to be at certain levels. I mean, my mum used to channel a lot through, and she used to say there was like 7 planes, and the lighter the energy, the more you sort of moved on. But I really basically just help those that obviously are stuck. And what it is you just got to find the bigger picture. Once you find the bigger picture, and I've been doing this for years with house cleansings and helping spirits, so I'm lucky enough to be able to help these people. But it's not for everybody, because often you have to feel the emotions of what they've gone through, and that can be quite painful. You also got to not attach to it and not get caught up in it and hope it doesn't trigger your own insecurities and fears. And then also you have to get them to see the bigger picture. And some spirit can't move on. The only time I know to send one over or to help one on, and please, be very careful of this. You can't just go around sending every spirit over. And it's only because of years of work and guidance from the spirit world. What I get is like an energy starts to emerge. And normally the family or the friends or whatever will come forward, or the person they're looking for have come forward to help them over. Then I know that I can help the person over. So I don't get involved in everybody's lives, and only when I'm asked do I get involved. And I certainly, when I'm dealing with spirit world, I don't get involved until they come to see me. So today we had quite a few different people, and I shall go into that story more to show the different scenarios and situations. Now, I don't really tend to get to know the names and everything because I don't want to become human bound in the sense of when working with spirit world, because a human experience is more about the emotions and everything, and I don't want to get caught up in that. So I do tend to not go into names or anything, but go into just the stories. So I let them tell the stories or help them out, and then we try and look at the connection or the reasoning to why it's happened. And then that releases their, once they've seen the bigger picture, it's like when you deal with past lives people, past life traumas or traumas in this life. Once they see the bigger picture to why it maybe happened or a reason or anything, then they can let go of it, they can understand it. They're so caught up in thinking that there's something wrong or they've done something wrong or the guilt with a loved one gone over. So it was a very strange day today because thankfully, because of so many people, it wasn't family members that came through. It was really the ones to do with the war and to do with what happened to them and the traumas they were gone through. So I was lucky enough to get involved in that, really, more than anything. So a few of the stories I will give you because it just gives you an insight into how I work and what I do and one thing and another. So one of them that really stood out was a nurse, amazing lady, and she was showing me pictures of her just being all around her was just blood and injured people and dying people, and she projected that image into my head, which wasn't nice, but it gave me an understanding and a feeling of what she's gone through. And as a nurse, she said to me that she's here to save people, but she couldn't save some of these people, and that really plagued on her and is why she's probably stuck in that sort of time zone. But then I asked, well, what, to myself, what is it what's the big picture on this? And they showed me that she'd actually done a lot of work in helping people over. So she thought her job was to rescue people, but she might have been there to help people over. She was there to send them on their way, really. And so by just being supportive and listening to the stories and helping them, she was able to move a lot on. And it was strange, really, because as soon as I showed her this, that actually she'd done even a more marvellous job by helping those who weren't going to be saved, who just needed a bit of peace to move on. A bubble appeared. It's like the Milky Way, if you've ever seen Star Trek type films and one and another. It was like the Milky Way opening up, and all these people that she'd helped, all these people that she didn't save all of them, but they are on the other side, came through to thank her for making that little bit, that moment in time, magical for them to be able to move on and release and be at peace. So this is what I'm saying to you. It's not always the story that you anticipate. So helping her in this way, she was able to move on, because then I saw her energy go towards the energy source, and she thanked me and she moved on. So that was one of them. I mean, another real sort of like emotional trap was a guy who was in Vietnam, he said. And he said that he accidentally killed a child, and it haunted him, and he couldn't move on because he lost his own child. And so he was blaming himself that because of what happened in Vietnam, that he basically had created it in his own life. And when I told him that he hadn't, and that holding on to it is not helping, he was able, then his son appeared, and he was able to move on and see his son. So sometimes it's basically, even just because they're searching for people or they want answers, that they stay here. So that was another one that came through. I did about 10 that were really stuck. They were reliving these nightmares. And then with my other helpers, they went round finding the stories for the others and helping them to move on as well. So it just shows you that you go for coffee in the morning and then you have all this happen. And I'm used to it now, but it's still, I maybe should do more of it. I maybe should go to, but in the olden days, I used to go to a lot of these places where I was drawn to or guided to help out. And it's not something I've always spoken about, because really, it's just being of service, really. And a lot of you out there in whatever career you're at are probably of service, And so, it's something that, you don't really sort of talk about. I just thought it would be nice to share with you on my spiritual journey that sometimes even, a medium's always on call, which is quite a thing to say, really. But it is the way it is. I chose to learn mediumship. I chose to help other people because of what happened to me and my scenarios and situations. And that is why I got involved, to help people. The last thing I thought would be that I'd spend my life also helping spirit people to move on. And I'm grateful that I'm able to do that, to be honest. I mean, look at some of my mediumship stories. I'll probably put a few up about some of the places that had overwhelmed me, really, that I've had to help out, and plague victims and all sorts of different things that I've got involved in. And it is really strange, really, that you can do so much good in this world. And it's not because I'm, a gifted soul or anything like that. I'm just a down-to-earth person that used to play football and used to work in pubs, and, I not really done anything magical, but it's part of what we play. So, always know that just that one word you could say to somebody, or that little bit of support, or being there for somebody, can make a big difference to someone's lives. And it's not about what you've done. It's about who you are. Your energy at that time can make such a difference to people around you. And you don't have to do anything. I love sitting in areas where I hear people complaining and they just change the energy, and all of a sudden they start to release a bit more, and then all of a sudden you can see in their faces they're just at peace. And why is that? Just because they've changed the energy of the room and ignited them to release and ignited them to let go and to bring peace to people's lives. And I think that's what I'm here for, just to help people to find their own peace, to find their own way, to find their own sort of sense of playing their part. Okay, so that's my spiritual journey for today. I'm going to put up some more stuff on some how-tos, and how I could go into details of how I clear out spirit. Maybe I don't like to go on about psychic attacks, because that really makes out that it's like, but if you're unconditional love, then nothing can harm you or attach you. But there's also lessons in a lot of it. So even though it would be called psychic attack, it's nothing to be scared of. But normal energies of the day can really affect us, and understanding that can make our journey a lot easier and a lot better. So thank you for sharing in the experience. I hope my morning session may give you a little bit of insight into the medium's world that I'm a part of.